In this video, I'm going to introduce you to a new diagnostics tool available in UberMenu 3.2.3, which helps to identify the source of residual styling from a theme and locate that theme menu code to be replaced within the theme template files in order to eliminate the interference from the theme. So, a quick recap. Residual styling is when the CSS from your theme is written in a way that it affects the menu. And of course, the theme CSS should only affect the theme, and the plugin CSS should only affect the plugin so that they don't interfere with one another's functionality. Most of the time in this scenario, the interfering CSS is based on a class or ID of a container that wraps the menu. So here's an example. Here you can see what this submenu is intended to look like when there's no interference from a theme. And here we have a theme that's causing residual styling, and you can see that there is major interference. Obviously, this submenu is not working how it's supposed to at all. So if we take a look at what the CSS is that's interfering with the menu functionality here, we'll take a look at this submenu, which is obviously being hidden by something because it should be displaying at all times. And we'll look at the styles applied. You'll see that there are styles from the style.css, that's the theme style sheet, affecting the submenu. And right here you can see that it has this style that's saying that the ULs in the menu should be display none, and that's obviously why it's not being displayed. If we uncheck that, you can see that the submenus now display properly. But it's a big pain to go in and change the CSS of the theme, because you would either have to remove it, which means you have to remove it every time you update, or you'd have to override it, which means you're writing all sorts of new styles, and then you have to worry about the specificity of those styles not overriding other things, and it becomes a big mess. So the much cleaner way to do things is just to prevent this style from applying to the menu at all, which is what should have happened in the first place. So you can see that this style is based on this themonic nav class, and if we look at the markup here, you can see that here's UberMenu. Here's where UberMenu starts. You can see it delineated by this HTML comment, and you can see that themonic nav is the class of a nav container that's wrapping the menu, and this is part of the theme. So to prevent those styles from applying, what we can do is just remove this class, and you can see now the styles work just fine because the theme styles no longer have anything to apply to in the menu. So what this means is that by moving UberMenu outside of this element in the theme, the CSS styles from the theme will no longer apply, and we don't have to actually remove the CSS styles themselves. So this is a much cleaner way of doing things. Now, if you're familiar with Chrome developer tools or Firefox, it's pretty easy to find the source of this interference. You just inspect the wrappers like I just did and just start, removing classes like this until you find what the source of the issue is. Sometimes it's a couple levels up, but you just change this until you see the menu change to what it's supposed to look like, and then you've found the source of the issue. And then once you find that source, you simply go to the theme template files and search for the PHP code that generates that markup that creates the problem. Often it's just plain HTML, and most commonly it's right in the header.php. Then you replace that with UberMenu, and then you're good to go. But for customers that aren't as familiar with HTML and PHP and WordPress themes in general, I found they're not comfortable using the developer tools, and they're not necessarily sure where to go in the theme files. So what this tool does is it helps you go through that process without having to mess with the developer tools or anything like that, and then it tells you exactly where in the theme to look to find the code that needs to be replaced. Now, it doesn't automatically change the code for you, but it basically gives you all the pieces so that you can put it together. Okay, so now we're going to look at two examples of using this tool so you can get a sense of how to use it. The first one will be really simple, and then the second one will be slightly more complicated, just to so that you're not shocked if you run into something that's a little bit more complex than what you see in the first example. Okay, so let's refresh this. Right now I'm showing you a theme called Iconic 1. It's very popular. So as you can see with Iconic 1, there's obviously residual styling from the theme breaking the submenus, which I obviously just showed you as well. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to be able to see a version of this menu with the proper layout so that you know what it's supposed to look like when the theme's not interfering with it. That way you know when you found the source of the issue because it'll match. So what we'll do is we'll go into the UberMenu control panel, and we're going to go to the integration part and enable direct injection testing. And what this does is going to put a copy of the menu just inside your body tag and then put it at the very top of the site for you. And this is just something for you to refer to so that you can see what it's supposed to look like, because 98% of the time residual styling from the theme will not affect this menu because there's no container from the theme wrapping it. It's just the body the body tag wrapping it. If you enable this and you do see interference and the menu's not working properly, that means there's something else going on, and I'll include a link to where you can find out more about other ways the theme might interfere. This tool is specifically for residual styling caused by a wrapper class. So now if we refresh, you'll see it's saying, please assign a menu to the direct injection theme location. Okay, so what we want to do is assign the same menu there so that we will be able to compare apples to apples, obviously. Now that we've refreshed the page, you'll see that we have our original menu here, which still has the residual styling, and a secondary menu, which you can see is working properly. Okay, so this is the direct injection menu. You don't want to use this menu. It's just for testing, for comparing things to. So we want to make our main menu work like the direct injection menu. So at this point, we're going to start up the Diagnostics tool. So we'll go to the UberMenu dropdown and then click on Diagnostics. And then in this panel here, it's always good to take a look at these, make sure you don't have any warnings or errors. But we're going to click on the Tools tab, and this is the only tool available currently, and it says Run Residual Styling Detection / Manual Integration Tool. So we're going to click on that, and the Residual Styling Detection tool will open. And it highlights all the UberMenus on your site, assuming you have multiple UberMenus, and because we're using direct injection, we obviously have multiple UberMenus. This gives you a quick overview. It tells you what residual styling is, just like we've already gone over, and a link to more information about residual styling. This is a link to a page that will house this video tutorial. And also, before you go any further, you'll want to check and see if there's already an integration guide specifically for your theme, because that'll save you some time if it already has all the instructions laid out for a specific theme scenario. Okay, we click on the next button. And by the way, if this gets in your way at all, you can minimize it like this. So step 1 is to activate direct injection. We already did that. If you were to do that, obviously you'd activate it and then restart the tool again. And this just explains that we're going to be comparing the two, like I've already explained to you. So the next step is to start unwrapping the menu so that we can figure out what container is causing the problem. So right now it's saying multiple menus detected. Please click on the green border surrounding the menu you wish to work with. So the tool needs to know which menu do we want to try to fix. And obviously we don't need to worry about the direct injection menu. We want to fix this menu, so we're going to click on the green border surrounding it. Okay, and now it's selected this menu for us to work with. So now we just click this remove container button, and we just continue to click that button, and then after each time you click it, compare it to the top menu or to what you know to be the correct menu layout. And once it's working properly, we click the green button. All right, so just to start off with, to remember, we have this residual styling issue. I'm going to click remove container, and it shows me that it removed this container, this nav element site navigation themonic nav. This is a HTML from the theme. Now we're going to check it again, and look, now the menu is working great. It looks just like the direct injection menu. Okay, so now that we know that this is working properly, we're going to, and you don't want to continue clicking remove container. Once you've found the source, stop clicking remove container and then click this green button. Okay, so on the next screen it says, now we're going to find the code to replace in your theme. This is giving you a recap of what we just did. So we know we found this HTML wrapper, right, with an ID of site navigation, a class of themonic nav, and this is just an approximation of what it's going to look like because, for example, the theme might have PHP generating this, so there could be echoes in here. It could be on multiple lines. There could be all sorts of things. This is what the HTML output that the PHP produces is going to be, and 95% of the time it looks just like this part at least. But just be aware, you're not looking. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. This is the general format. And what you're going to do is conditionally replace this with UberMenu. So this is, again, an example of what you do. And you're just saying, if UberMenu exists, print UberMenu. Now, this is going to be code that you generated from the control panel. And then otherwise, print the original menu. So this is just the code that started out in the theme. All right, so at this point, with this information, you can just go find this point in your theme. 98% of the time, it's in the header.php, and it's really easy to find. But if you don't know how to do a global search on your theme, or you're just not as comfortable looking through the code, you can click this button and it'll search through the theme files for you and attempt to find the appropriate location. So it's going to search for this ID, it's going to search for this class if it doesn't find that ID, and it's also going to search for WP nav menu just to find any locations within the theme that use a menu. All right, so I'll click search theme files for menu, and the search results will be shown here. And this is just another reminder that this is the code, or effectively this code that you're looking for in the theme. So it found the term site navigation, then it shows you where it found it in iconic1/header.php. It will also search child themes in case you're using one. And these are the lines it found. So you can see in this case, the line it found does match what we expected exactly. So that just means that there wasn't any PHP generating this. It's just HTML inside the header.php. And then it also found the closing tag, which is helpful. This theme is coded well. It comments everything for you so that you know where this nav tag is ending. It also searched the theme for the WP nav menu function. You can see these two lines you can ignore. These are just comments where the theme is referencing the function, but it's not actually being called. And the only place it is actually being called is in header.php, and you can see that that is obviously a line right between these two. So that's definitely what we're looking for. Okay, so this shows you what we want to be doing is opening up the theme, opening up the header.php, and then looking for line 81. We're finding this, and we're going to be replacing this chunk of code. This gives you a little more explanation about what we're doing, but I'm going to show you how to do that now. So let's switch over to our text editor. This is Sublime Text. If you are not already using a good code editor, I highly recommend this one. So we've been given the path that we should look for, iconic1/header.php. And obviously this is inside your themes folder, but if you're not familiar, that's in your WordPress install, in WP content, themes. All right, and then within themes, we're going to find iconic1. Most of the time you just have 2, maybe 3 themes installed, but this is a test site for me, so I have lots of themes installed. And it says go into header.php. So we click on header.php, and here's our file. We know that the line we're looking for is line 81. So let's go down to line 81, and there it is. So this is the code that we want to replace. And just to recap, this class, the mnemonic nav, is part of the style that affects the menu and breaks the menu. You can see that the menu is printed inside here, and UberMenu just replaces whatever WP nav menu prints out. So when it does that, this class is still present, and the styles related to it break the menu. So all we need to do is replace this with the UberMenu manual integration code. You could just delete this and add in UberMenu, but that means that if you disabled the UberMenu plugin, your site would break because you're calling a function that only exists inside the UberMenu plugin. So instead, what we're going to do is conditionally replace your menu. And that means that you can disable UberMenu, and all that will happen is you'll revert back to the theme menu. You enable it again, and it'll pop right back up. So it's a little bit of extra code, but it really makes your site a lot more robust. So here's how we're going to do this. First, you're going to use this template code. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And just to be clear, you should be doing this in a child theme, but if you're just testing out, making sure you're getting the edit right, you can try it out in the parent theme first and then move it over to a child theme later. All right, so this is the code we're going to use. This PHP is very simple. It just says if the UberMenu function exists, which will only happen if UberMenu is installed, then we're going to print UberMenu. Otherwise, we're going to print the theme code. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the themes menu and move it inside the else statement. All right. The code doesn't need to be changed. It just needs to be inside the else statement, and you need to make sure that the PHP is still valid. So, if there's a PHP closing tag here, it shouldn't be inside this other one. For most themes, they're coded nicely, so there's not a lot of junk in there. It's really just a simple block that you cut and paste. Sometimes some themes are a little messier, and you need to be a little more careful. All right, in the if statement, we're going to copy the manual integration code from the control panel. So let's go back to our UberMenu settings on the control panel here. And under integration, manual integration, this will generate the code for you. So we want to go with a specific theme location. And if you're not sure what theme location, look back at your code, at the code you're replacing. See how in the WP nav menu call, the theme location is set to primary? This is the slug. Most of the time, the slug and the actual name of the theme location will match pretty closely. Not a hard and fast rule, but again, a properly coded theme will generally have this named so that you can recognize it easily. So if we switch back to our manual integration code, you'll see we'll select the primary menu. And you'll see that generates this PHP code for us. The shortcode would be relevant if you were putting this inside some page content or perhaps inside of a content builder. But because we're working inside PHP files, we're going to use the PHP. You can also double check that the theme location that it creates here matches the theme location from the original WP nav menu call. All right, so in case you missed that, I clicked on this, and then I'm going to hit Control-C or Command-C to copy it, or you can right-click and copy, and then go over to the theme file and replace this with the code generated from the plugin. All right, and then we should be good to go. So I'm going to save this, and let's go back and open a new copy of this so we can see what we're working with. And you'll see that now, no more residual styling. You can see it matches the direct injection menu, and that's something else we should also come back to our settings and disable the direct injection testing. And that's it. So now the menu is properly integrated. We've completed the manual integration. We've replaced the themes menu, which is this, with UberMenu. And by doing so, we've avoided the styles that include this themonic nav class, which is what was breaking the menu in the first place. All right, so that's a simple example. And most themes, when you have to do this, it's exactly like that. These classes might be a bit different. This code is going to look a little bit different, but it's just take the theme code, paste it inside the else statement, generate the menu code, put it inside the if statement, and you're good to go. Now, an important note is that you should not edit theme files directly like this. This is just to keep things simple, but where you should be making this edit is in a child theme. So now if you look at the manual integration video tutorial, I run through creating a quick child theme, so I'm not going to go through doing it again here. There are plenty of tutorials online. In this instance, because it's in the header.php, it's really, really easy. You just create the child theme, which again, you can find instructions for all over the place. Then copy this header.php into the child theme and make this edit there. The purpose of that is that when you update the theme in the future, the parent theme's header.php is going to get overwritten, so all your changes will be lost if you make the changes in the parent theme. By putting it in the child theme's header.php, where you made the edits, will continue to override the parent theme, and you won't have to make any changes, or you won't have to redo your changes once you update the theme. So that's very important.